Well, it's that time of year again. The leaves are starting to fill up the yard, so I've been out there getting rid of what I can. It's the strangest thing though. The more leaves I seem to get rid of, the more I find next time. And while this in itself is perplexing, I'm more bewildered that I find the work enchanting? In some way? They're just leaves, nothing special about them at all, and yet I can't seem to pull myself away from clearing them. I had to make a run to the store. I realized that just bagging leaves by hand or a small hand rake wasn't going to cut it, so I went and bought a small leaf blower. It really does the trick. I also saw the store was having a special on a new gadget, the automatic leaf blower, or ALB for short. I figured I'd try them out, seeing as I can never quite get all the leaves. I snuck over to Bob's place to rake his leaves. I know that sounds like a bizarre thing to do, raking a neighbor's leaves when they're more than capable of doing it themselves, but I just can't help it. His yard has those incredible platinum leaves. They catch the light in the most alluring way, and the ALBs seem to be happy with their new work as well. It could just be an illusion from the new location, but I swear they're stronger and last longer than before. But Bob needs to take care of his pest issues. I'm getting swarmed by all sorts of little creatures. I just pester them by blowing leaves in the direction until they end up moving on. He told me stories about some sort of artifacts and that he lost his magic compass in his garden. I guess he forgot to take his medicine. Another tepid morning in the suburbs. Sunshine creeps over the horizon and bathes the road in a warm light. Bob heads out the door and waves to the neighbor. He seems like an earnest man, Bob thinks to himself, if not a little boring. He's pruning those trees again. Not particularly interesting work. Not unless you are Bob. Bob's sedan grumbled to life and backed out of the drive, then headed down the road. His tie fluttered a bit in the breeze that came in through the cracked windows. Bob's AC had broken years ago, but the heater worked fine in the winter, and he didn't mind the fresh air. As he drove out of town into the foothills of the mountain, he saw glimpses of silver peeking through the mountain forest. Local botanists were eager to study the clearly distinct trees, but roaming security officials would always intercept them and turn them away. One less piece of evidence to draw back to the corporation. Where the state road veers towards the nearby town on the other side of the mountains, Bob instead turns onto a small maintenance road and drives for a few miles before being stopped by armed guards in all black. He flashes his deep red badge and is waved through. Another half-mile up the road, a large metal door opens for his car, and Bob drives into the dark cavern. I can't believe it's real. It shouldn't be real. And yet, I'm here. The platinum leaves guided me here. A breadcrumb trail, a map to El Dorado, but instead of gold, leaves. They lured me to the edge of the city, through the countryside and to the top of the mountains, and there I found it. A glen, full of beautiful, shimmering, metal trees, which spawned an everlasting stream of rainbow-colored leaves. Their beauty is not their only strength. My LBs continue to gain strength, push harder and for longer. Sometimes a fleeting thought. Why? What does it all mean? Soon the thought passes, blown away with the leaves. As I climbed the mountain, clearing the path of leaves, my steps became lighter and lighter as I seemed to escape the earth itself as I floated up into a vast open space. It should have been to my surprise that I found leaves here, but it did not. I knew that the work must continue, and the leaves must be cleared. Leaves like glowing meteors, dark gray with a glowing sheen like embers fluttered away from me and my ALBs, who continued to happily encircle me, despite the apparent lack of gravity. I like to talk to them, the ALBs. It's gotten a little lonely out here, and I prefer their quiet contemplation over the hushed whispers I hear coming from the leaves. Crazy Bob told me that he Lost some sort of artifact while he was in space. He really needs to consult a doctor about his hallucinations. If space was an open and vast emptiness, I have stumbled into someplace colder, darker. It's bitter nothingness. It's void. I try to keep my mind straight, but everything is turned around. Between the darkness I see more leaves. They shine through the empty, but with a kind of blackness. Not just a lack of light, but as if they are made of something the light hates. Something the light flees from. I push away these umbral shadows as fast as I can, but they continue to encroach. My mind plays tricks on me. Ghastly apparitions assault me through the void. I blow them away like the leaves, but soon I hear their cackle behind me, unseen in the dark. I feel my grip on sanity straining, my connection to the before tenuous. I chase the leaves further and further into the darkness, hoping to find a light. But the voices come from just beyond my vision. The ramblings are dark, terrible things. They try to corrupt my mind, to sow chaos into my being. But then, a whisper through the madness. It's not the whisper of a loving mother, but the whispers of droplets falling during the rain. It weaves a tale of everything, the cadence of life and the rhythm of the universe. It's hard to follow, all a bit too much, but there's a spark in my mind. In my mind's eye, a room appears before me. While my body is obscured in the preternatural, my mind walks through the doorway of a simple room, lined with nothing but unadorned wooden tables and uninspired cabinets, fluorescent light dripping from the fixtures on the ceiling. The whispers continue in my mind, and I know I need to comprehend their teachings. I realize there is a single leaf resting on top of a table. Was that there before? I lift it by the stem and examine it. Lively green webbed by symmetrical veins, 7 tips along its circumference. But there's something else. I pick up the magnifying glass next to me. When did I put that there? And peer at the leaf's waxy coating. I tear off a piece and, without question, place it on the microscope slide. My eyes darting to the lens to see the structure of the leaf's capillaries, pores, cells. My mind is entranced. I'm leaping from basic examination to advanced biological chemistry in mere moments. I pull flasks and burners from the cabinets, distilling the essence from the leaves that appear before me. Centrifuges sit alongside alchemical transmutation diagrams as I pass between this realm of science into the next, my mind filling with knowledge of the leaves, but it's all hints, notes, scraps. This is only the beginning. I learn how to create more leaves, how to process leaves into more complicated forms. One innovation leads to the next, a cacophony of intellectual metamorphosis until a dead end. Or is it a fork in the path? The whirlwind in the laboratory of my mind ceases. I stand there, bewitched, unmoving for the first time in what seems to be after eons and only a moment. Before me, in a squat glass beaker, sits a point of light. It undulates with color, swift pulses of yellow and green before collapsing into a black mote again. This wasn't where my experiments were leading. This doesn't feel like I'm closer to the answer I seek. Yet, I can't help but reach my hand out. The pulses quicken as my hand approaches, but I'm not afraid. It seems to slowly drift toward my outstretched finger, and then everything goes white. Well, it's that time of year again. The leaves are starting to fill up the yard, so I've been out there getting rid of what I can. It's the strangest thing though. The more leaves I seem to get rid of, the more I find next time. And I'm plagued by the worst case of deja vu. Like I've been here before, but they're just leaves. Nothing special about them at all. And yet I can't seem to pull myself away from clearing them. The whirlwind in the lab... The whirlwind in the... The whirlwind in the lab... That...